Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I have the opportunity to work on a beautiful, looks like new in the box reel. It was sent in by Scott. Scott had this as a flea market find. It's the Daiwa 470, and boy, it looks perfect. The only thing I'm going to guess is it needs a tune-up because, well, all the grease that was probably shipped with it 30 years ago or so has leaked out, and I don't know if Scott is interested in taking this reel fishing, but if he does, we want to make sure that it's ready to go for him. Gorgeous reel, and circa the 1980s, and it's just, I can just feel it as I turn it. It is just a real beast to turn, and that's got to be the old grease. So we're going to start by taking off the exterior pieces. As we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like the art of reel repair. If you want to learn more about fishing reel manufacturers, if you want to learn the differences in fishing reels and maybe the strengths or weaknesses of some, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please hit the notification button. That's your best way to learn what fishing reels are being worked on, which ones are becoming videos, and well, go see the ones that I'm doing and learn from them. This channel's purpose is to teach you how to do it yourself, if you're interested in doing it yourself. And it's also there to provide an education and a forum on the fishing reel industry and general things that are going on in the fishing industry overall. So please, again, subscribe. And when you do subscribe, please hit that notification button. Well, there's 3 screws that are holding on the case. And before I take that last one out, I want to make sure that the anti-reverse, if it's on, gets set to off. Move that switch over so that it pedals backwards. The reason that I do that, I'm not familiar with this reel. I've worked on a lot of Daiwas. I'm going to guess this is kind of an instinct service here. But when I don't know what it is, I want to make sure that that is in an off position, just on the event that maybe there's something that traps the dog, and when you pull out the case, the springs go flying. So I like to take that off. One of the things that you should take if you're doing this is pictures. When you take a picture of a particular reel, it'll give you landmarks along the way. So if you go to reinstall, or if you forgot how a particular piece went in, those pictures will be a great assist. Well, this is a pretty simple and straightforward reel, which is wonderful. And we're going to clean this one up and we'll get it back together again. So we have a main gear with a stud on it. That stud is going to move inside the cavity of the crosswind block, and because it's offset, as it goes low, the spool will be low, and as it goes high, the spool will be high. I'm going to remove that gear now. Just simply pull it out. This is what we're talking about. This is what's clogging up the performance of this reel. So it's probably all new, a new reel, never used, but just gravity does its work. The grease tends to find its low spot on the in the reel in storage, and if it happens to be around the shaft of that gear, well, you're going to find that the grease is going to evaporate, dry up, become cement-like or tar-like, and what that's going to do is it's going to inhibit the performance of the reel. Well, I just used combination of a couple of things. I used a Q-tip, some penetrating oil and the like, just to clean the case up. We'll go ahead and put that case back there. We do the same thing here. I'm going to use a paper towel, wipe down the old grease. Now, if it looked like it was holding some grease, maybe stuck there, go ahead and use something like that 4.0 steel wool. And then on this side, I'm going to scrape first. I'm just going to use a flat-bladed screwdriver very, very gently. You don't want to dig it. It's not a chisel. You don't need to go bang it off. But I want to get the surplus out of the way. And then we'll repeat what we did before on the housing. We're going to put a little bit of penetrating oil on there and then clean that up. Well, you can see there's absolutely zero grease inside the teeth. Well, there's 2 reasons for poor performance, something like this. One of them is no grease. The other one is, well, dried or dirty grease. All right, we're going to take a wire brush. You can use a toothbrush or any hard bristle brush. I'm just going to pull through towards the outside where my towel is there, just to get any remnants of the old grease off that pin gear. When I get done cleaning the parts, I put them into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a fast food container, and it's always a good place, or a good thing, best practice, to organize your parts so when it's time to go back and reassemble the wheel, you know where they are. Take a picture here. This is a real easy one to kind of mess up. Notice that there's a pin that's holding the axle shaft on, and that pin is on the bottom side of the crosswind block. Pull the pin out with the pliers, put that right into your parts tray, and now we should be able to remove the axle shaft by pulling up. Again, you can see the old grease. And when that old grease coagulates underneath this click ratchet, it kind of stops the progression downward of that spool shaft. Well, it means it bottoms out here. If it bottoms out there, well, it's not going to allow it to complete the cycle, and it's going to be harder to turn at that point to move it back up, because you're turning against the old puddle of grease. Well, that case is nice and clean inside, and you just saw the crosswind block fall out. Well, if you didn't take that picture, if you weren't paying attention, you would be sitting here right now going, geez, does the crosswind block go up or down with that hole? How did it mount? Well, that's the idea behind taking pictures. Even if you trust your memory a lot more than I trust mine, pictures is a good idea. All right, that's all cleaned up. That's going in the box. Now we want to come up top here. We want to remove the rotor. So to remove the rotor, in this case, you're not going to be able to get a wrench. Well, maybe this one would work. Yeah, this one would work because it happens to be an offset wrench. But if you have a flat wrench like this, there's no way you're going to do that without stripping the piece because of that. So you can either use the offset here, or you can go to a socket. I think that's going to be a 15 millimeter socket. That one seems a little loose. Nope, it's going to be 14 millimeter. So I always keep my sockets on the bench near at hand, just in case I need them. Well, I'm not sure. Sometimes Daiwa makes these reverse threaded, so we're going to give it a try and see which one it is. And in this case, it's just a traditional left goes off approach. Get the unneeded tools off the bench and get your pieces and parts into the parts tray. That way you don't knock off anything that you may have left on your bench. Okay, we have the basic rotor. This is very clean. We're going to just refresh the oils there. We're going to put some oil on that shaft, even though it goes nowhere. We're going to oil the sleeve of the spring of your bail arm. You don't need to take that spring out if it's working. And we can put a little bit on the roller even though it doesn't roll. We have a pinion gear and we have a case. We do not have a ball bearing in the top of this one. What we have is a case with a pressed in insert that's acting as the bushing. You want to take that pinion gear out so that you can clean the old greases behind it. And again, I'm going to go and do what we've done before. A little bit of the penetrating oil to loosen the greases. A little bit of scraping with a flat blade. Usually there's another washer down here. I want to get that off. So there's a washer high and low on that. And we'll just grab another paper towel and we'll be ready to just clean one more piece, which is that pinion gear. Put it all back together and get it back to Scott for fishing. Okay, do that. There's a little bit of dried grease onto the pinion gear here. We're going to scrape that off the bottom. Kind of saw that coming up. This is hardened grease here. And we'll do the same thing. We're going to grab that pinion gear, a hard brush. This one's a brass wire brush. You don't need that. You can use a toothbrush. But just make sure that you clean out those teeth. All right. This washer came top side of the pinion gear. Now we're going to use fishing reel grease. I use Penn Precision Reel Grease as my grease. I really don't have that much of a preference. This one's always worked out well for me, so I guess stick with something if it works. I like it because it comes in 1 pound tubs. Now, most of the time, folks watching this channel, well, you're not going to be doing the volume of work that I do, so you can find smaller tubs by various manufacturers. Go ahead and use them. All right, we got the washer that goes on top of that. And go grab the rotor, put the rotor on, go to the parts tray, get the nut, and the top end of this is basically done. So you're going to see it takes maybe 20 minutes to do this when you narrate it. Plus, if you get good at it, I should be able to get it faster. I'm from the New York metropolitan area, and we do talk faster. But besides that, you'll find that the service, for the amount of time involved in it, is going to keep these reels fishing on and on and on. All right, well, I just put the grease onto the shoulders where the crosswind block is going to ride. Put a little bit of grease into where the stud is. And remember, when we mount this, that hole goes below. So it's going to line up something like this. We're going to take our axle shaft. I'm going to connect the axle shaft to the crosswind block and look for that hole in the axle shaft. That's where the pin needs to go through when you reset the piece. And once you have it in the 2 parts, go ahead and grab that pin, line the hole up with it, put that pin in there, and you're set. So now we want to do the main gear. I'm going to rinse and repeat. And we'll just get, you don't have to get it on every tooth because the gear ratio is different. So that small gear is going to spread the lubrication from the long gear. I like to do this one without putting the side plate on. I just want to get it. I want to rotate the rotor, make sure everything is spinning, and make sure that the axle shaft is going up and down. Okay, I may have skipped over one little spot here. Just be aware of it. There's a little washer that goes between the main gear and the housing. Make sure that it goes on the stud as you do that. This is still in the off position. We can go ahead and put a little bit of oil on there to stop that runs smoothly. And then let's just align the case now. I'm going to hold the case firm, and I want to make sure that it's going up. The axle shaft is going up. It may have been hard for you to see, but I wanted to test that before I spend my time tightening down the exterior screws. So you can see this is a no ball bearing reel. As a result, it's going to spin a little bit tighter than one that would have a ball bearing on the pinion gear, and maybe a little bit more tighter than one that would have one on the pinion gear and both sides of the main gear. Having said that, it's still a very solid design, and if you're one that believes that the fewer moving parts, the less it is to break, well, then this is a simply designed reel, and it's going to last. You saw the bushings in the case. You'll never wear that case out. We're just going to tighten up this last one. We'll put the handle on. We'll see how we did. Okay, that's the last of that. The handle goes on next. So it's unusual to find these new in the box kind of reels, but he certainly did. Oh, look at that. Smooth. You'd never know that there is no ball bearings in there unless we had opened it up. All right, I'm going to flip this over to make sure that the anti-reverse dog works. Beautiful little click. And the last thing we want to do is take a look at the drag washers up top. My guess is that we may see a felt washers in here, or we may see Teflon washers in here, and could possibly see leather washers in here, but I don't think so. All right. You want to make sure that your case interior is clean when you remove them, and you remove them by taking the spring that holds these together out. Well, the first one up, well, I believe we have Teflon washers. Sure looks that way. Okay, Teflon washers are plastic washers. There's no need to lubricate them because, well, they don't absorb anything, and they're a petroleum product, so they are self-lubricating. Just checking on the rest of these. This is a 6-drag system. You start with a drag washer, then there's a keyed washer, which is a rectangular piece, and we go with that second washer. Then there's an eared washer, which has 2 points on it and a circular hole in the middle. Goes like that. Then the third one goes on, and then the last of the keyed washers goes on. So that's how you set that stack. I almost lost this spring. It should have gone into my parts tray, but, well, it didn't. Now we'll put the spring in. There's a groove that this spring rides in. Find it, insert one side, keep your finger on it. There is a spring in it. We'll shoot. And then once you have it in the grooves all the way around, you can release your hold on it. There's also a little washer below here that acts as a leveling washer for the line guide, for the line lay. Once those are on, let's give that a turn. Tighten it up. Make sure that you have the drag. We do. Let's give it a test. Let's make sure that we have the bail. Yep, we do. So there you go. That's how the Daiwa 400 series, in this case the 407 bronze reel, comes together. That's how it gets serviced, and that's how to ensure that it will be fishing for a long time to come. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. Again, please subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos. To all of our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.